welcome back to the Tower of Lou, episode 3. Just got back from England, had a wonderful vacation. Did not have such a wonderful return with Anshul's loss at UFC 294. So, let's talk about that. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do as someone who trains in jiu-jitsu and who's part of a fight team is having to watch your teammates take a brutal loss, right? The guys I train with in general are very, very good on the ground, so it's very rare that you see them submitted. But sometimes you do see them take brutal TKO and KO losses, and if anything, it rattles you as a human being. I even remember at one point of time, I wanted to pursue fighting, just as an amateur thing, nothing serious, nothing professional. And I saw my teammate getting pretty much crushed while doing incredibly well. And that kind of shook my confidence up, and I never thought about it again. It's the whole question of, do you really want to be a fighter? Look, I've watched these guys go through so much before a fight, right? The weight cutting, the anxiety, mental anguish, just the frustration of having to deal with certain things during camp, etc., etc. And then go into a fight and then get brutally KO'd. It's not fun. It's not fun to watch, right? And it took me a while to make this video. I really wanted to take my time and think about the situation and see exactly what the problem was. And, at least try in my own way to diagnose the issue, right? What happened during the loss? What could Anshul could have done different? And the thing is, I didn't want to offer an opinion that downplayed Anshul's role in the fight, what he did and what he achieved, right, in those 2 rounds, and definitely the first 2 rounds. Anyway, I wanted to take a deeper look at why the loss took place and what we can sort of learn moving forward, right? So again, this pure disclaimer: I train at Cross Train Fight Club. Anshul's one of my teammates. I've trained with him before, so there is going to be a little bit of bias when it comes to how I'm approaching the loss, right? So, but I'll try and be as objective as possible. So, at least in keeping with my with my sort of line principles, things like that. So, anyway, right, Mike Breeden defeats Anshul Jubli at in the third round, the middle of the third round, by vicious KO, and the one thing I can definitely take away from the loss is that Anshul looked incredible. He looked very, very good. He looked like he belonged there, for the first 2 rounds. Like, this is a gripe I had with someone like Bharat Khandare, who technically was the first UFC fighter first Indian fighter to fight in the UFC. Didn't win though, and I don't like saying this about Indian fighters, but he didn't look like he belonged. Like, of course, it's not like the UFC did him any favors by putting him up against Song Yadong, but you could see in the fight that there was hesitation and there was some sort of, hesitation is the right word I would use, right? Like frustration about not being able to implement your game plan, things like that. And he took a bad loss against Song Yadong. No harm, no foul. Song Yadong's a bantamweight contender. But then he got popped for, I'm not exactly sure what the steroids were, but he did get popped for a number of steroids, which his manager claimed were for recovery. And I kind of believe that, because injuries do take a toll on your body. But anyway, point being, he looked like he didn't want to be there, right? Anshul looked like he belonged. And he pieced up Mike Breeden in the first 2 rounds, hit him with nice popping jabs, hit him with double jab in a right hand, and he couldn't. Of course, he kept using the same thing, so Mike Breeden kind of figured it out. But for the first 2 rounds, the guy was completely, dazzled by Anshul's striking. It's the word I'd used, right? He was sort of hypnotized. Every time he would come in close, Anshul would grab the collar tie, blast him some knees into the body. He had some good front kicks, keeping up the distance, and which is what I'm saying, he looked like he belonged in there. And another thing as well, in the second round, he almost finished Breeden. He got an incredible, hit him with an incredible shot right in the back of the head, while Breeden was moving, so it was completely legal. Rocked him and went in for the kill, which I think played a major part in his downfall, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Almost got him out of there. And the third round began, and it was just like a completely different Anshul. it basically fell apart in the third round, right? Like there was a point where you could see that his confidence levels dipped. Now he kind of froze and just took a beating for about a minute and a half. Like and Breeden landed some serious shots. He walked him down. I mean, taunted him, screamed at him, barked at him, like literally barked at him. And it seemed to kind of freeze Anshul up. It flummoxed him, right? Maybe he'd never dealt with someone like that in the gym before. But look, and he got KO'd in the third. It's a tough pill to swallow, right? It's an incredibly tough pill to swallow. Your undefeated run is over, and in brutal fashion, right? He got clocked and went face first and took another hammer fist, not a hammer fist, but like it took a straight right to the back of the head while he face planted. Brutal loss, very painful loss. So what went wrong? What really went wrong in this entire situation? In many ways, I mean, I haven't spoken to my coach Sid, Coach Siddharth Singh, so I can't really say exactly what the problems were, but from my own opinions and analysis of the fight, watched it about 2-3 times, it seemed that after the second round, Anshul had a very bad adrenaline dump and fatigue started to kick in, like buildup of lactic acid, the fatigue in your muscles and the difficulty breathing, difficulty getting up. It seemed that he lost wind in the third. He looked okay, but he just didn't have the same lateral movement, and he didn't have the same sort of reaction time, what you need when you're fighting, especially in the later rounds, right? Like to be able to see punches, to be able to see kicks coming, to be able to gauge takedowns, etc., etc. It also doesn't help, and I don't like saying this because it means it sounds like I'm taking a dig at the fight, at Anshul especially, but it's just a matter of being, right? Anshul doesn't have that KO power, just fucking put someone down, sit somebody down with a shot. Someone like Terence McKinney has, or even Islam has, one punch, one shot, they stun you, right? So that didn't. Basically, what that did was it gave Mike Breeden breathing room. And what I mean by breathing room is that he knew, he's okay, this guy doesn't have the shots, the power to hurt me, right? And because he doesn't have the power to hurt me, I can just walk into range and just throw. Right, he took his best shots in the second round, this is what I was said I was coming back to. He took Anshul's best shots in the second round. Anshul cracked him with the right hand and basically hit him with knees, hit him with punches, and he survived. And when you survive a hellacious beating like that, it gives you the mental edge, right? You're okay, I can take this guy's best shots and I can give them back. And give them back he did, and he hurt Anshul bad in the third, right? He hit him with a couple of right hands that really stung him, and even though Anshul was trying to roll with the punches, he was taking a lot of them to the side of the head and eventually one to the jaw that finished him off. It really didn't help that Anshul wasn't used to the taunting. I think the taunting really played a part in breaking his confidence down. He screamed at him, he barked at him, screaming USA, screaming shit like that. It fucks with someone's head. It does. I can think of Nick Diaz versus Gomi during Pride 33, I think 32, one of those Pride events, where Nick basically took all of Gomi's shots, hit him with a fucking, in Nick's own words, a Hadouken punch, and survived the round. Survived the first 10-minute round, came back in the second, talking mad shit, popping Gomi with jabs, hitting him, and made him shoot a desperate takedown and caught him in the incredible Gogo Plata submission, right? One of the first few in high-level MMA. I mean, it should also be said that Breeden missed weight, and that sort of not having to cut that last 3.5 pounds really makes a difference, right? Your body is completely drained when you have to do that shit. So but no excuse again. Anshul took the fight, 20% of his purse. So much like Volkanovski in the main event, there's no excuse for being unprepared or weight misses and stuff. You took the fight, so there's nothing much to be said about that. I mean, maybe the UFC forced their hand, I don't know, but he trained for so long and wanted to fight, right? It's part of a fighter's being to want to be there and to want to scrap. Anyway, he also had staph, apparently. I'm checking my notes here. He apparently had a staph infection going into the fight. Breeden, I mean. So what that part played in, wanting to finish the fight in the third, or how he fought in the first 2 rounds, could be a indication of that. But I don't really put too much stock in it. He probably came in prepared, and Anshul just had a bad night, right? So what could have Anshul done to mitigate the damage and avoid taking shots on the feet? Well, from what I could see, the first 2 rounds, Anshul was smart, used lateral footwork, moved side to side, ducking, weaving, ducking under the left hook, and being very, very, very diligent about his defense, very, very prudent about his defense, smart, right? Like, the name of the game is that you want to hit and don't get hit, and he wasn't getting hit very clean. He took some shots, no doubt, but again, looked like he belonged there, showed a chin. What I think he could have done when Breeden was barreling into him was he could have initiated clinch situations a little bit more. Or maybe he didn't like what he felt in the first round when he clinched with Breeden and Breeden put his back to the fence, but it would have slowed him down, right? It would have slowed down Breeden and given Anshul some time to sort of like collect his bearings and be like, okay, slow down the fight, right? Like, now you can plan, okay, what else can I do here? How can I move forward? Should I shoot a takedown? Or just be able to hold the guy there, not take unnecessary punishment, right? But I guess in the spur of the moment, it's difficult to make those decisions since you're getting punched in the fucking head. It's tough. It's not an easy proposition at all. Like, you're getting punched and kicked and sort of pushed against the cage, and Anshul did well to avoid a lot of damage, but it's just that some shots would get through, and those shots really hurt him, especially in the third when you're tired and you're fatigued. And I've said before, fatigue breaks men. I mean, it's not like something new or something revolutionary that I'm saying, right? Like, this has been happening for years and years in MMA. Guys who survive onslaughts come back to win fights. Brock Lesnar, Shane Carwin. I mean, there's so many of them. Tim Bosch, Yushin Okami. Guys survive, especially at the highest levels, right? Like, especially in the UFC, where you have to have that kind of, like, as I've mentioned before, fuck you power, where you hit a dude and he dies, right? Like, you hit a dude and you basically kill the guy. You need to have that kind of power. If you don't have that kind of power, you're going to have you're going to need superb grappling skills to keep up with that. And Anshul did try to shoot a couple of takedowns here and there, but I think he was just so tired, like he just could not get them going, and he shot at the hip, right? Not bending at the knees. So they were relatively easy to predict, and sort of Mike saw them coming and defended incredibly well. Breeden has a chin, but you've seen him getting smashed before. Terence McKinney put it on him in his previous fight, right? And maybe this was his job-saving performance, right? Which is why he really needed to get Anshul out of there. But the lack of power really sort of held Anshul back in terms of really, really hurting Breeden. And as I said before, like, when the guy gets close to you, clinch on him, put him in a Muay Thai clinch and sort of bang him with knees to the body. That's one thing he could have done. But ultimately, this is a coulda, woulda, shoulda situation, right? It didn't happen, and he got stopped in the third. So again, Anshul's got a lot of things to work on for his next fight. One, probably be to spar with people who are constantly talking shit to you, so that you get that out of your system. He's probably never had that in his career, right? I don't think the guys at cross-train do that. They don't have that. Not to say they don't have the capability. It's just that because you're training your teammates, it's very rare that guys are talking shit to each other. So he needs to deal with that mental aspect of the game as well. He needs to basically not let guys bully him, and when I say bully, I don't mean in terms of strength. I mean in terms of confidence and body language and things like that. So, and another thing is he needs to get with the strength and conditioning, a really good strength and conditioning program, something that I think he's doing quite well right now, and the people behind him are doing quite well right now, but I don't think they prepared him for a grueling 3-round fight, right? If you're fighting in the UFC, you cannot be gassed out in the third. You cannot have fatigue in the third. If you do, you're not going to be able to fight 5-round fights. It's just not going to happen. All the developmental issues that you've had in previous fights, they need to be sorted out by the time you get to the UFC. It's time to fucking knuckle up once you get there, right? You've got to be an approximation of the best version of you. Right? Of course, there's always scope to get better and improve your skills, but you have to be at that level. And Anshul was at that level for the first 2 rounds. I just think his gas tank let him down. Right? Fatigue breaks the best of men. So there's that. I mean, I wish him all the best, honestly. I mean, from the heart, like, all the best. Heal up. He'll come back soon. The next fight, we'll see we'll see how that goes. Right? Other thoughts about UFC 294. Islam Makhachev is the fucking best lightweight on the planet right now. Right? He's beaten everyone they've put in front of him. He couldn't get fights for a long time. He head kicked Volkanovski and finished him with brutal shots on the ground. Like, what else is there to say about the guy? Like, he's difficult to take down, incredibly tough to take down. Right? Wrestles up incredibly well from like the single leg positions and work against the cage. Like, he's probably one of the best fighters I've seen fight with his back on the cage. Right? What he did to Charles in their fight when he was backed up against the cage led him to basically taking Charles down with a beautiful hip throw. So he's the real deal. He's one of the most talented hand-to-hand combatants in the history of the sport. Like, you may not like it, you may not think he's charismatic or has this fucking swag about him, but for me, the swag is in the fighting. That's where the swag comes in from. Like, I don't care about all this press conference, like, witty repartees and all that fucking corner shit. Like, it drives me nuts. Right? Like, I'm not in the whole respect everyone thing, but like this whole thing of like selling the fight and shit talking, I don't like all that stuff. Right? It just never really appealed to me. I don't watch too many interviews. Press conferences generally, I try not to watch them because they're just it evolved into like this whole thing of like people just screaming at each other. So that's not what I wanted to get into. He kept, basically what Islam did was he battered him with kicks. Like, he just kept him. This is the classic open stance matchup, right? Orthodox versus southpaw. Like, one side of your body is completely open to shots, right? And Islam took advantage of that. Inside leg kicks, body kicks, inside leg kicks, body kicks, one wayward head kick, then again inside body leg kicks, front kicks. Just kept him constantly on the back foot, and eventually found the mark with a beautiful head kick that just skimmed off the top of the glove and cracked Volkanovski right on the side of the head. It's stuff that like messes up your equilibrium, and you're not sure exactly where you are. You basically are out of it for a little bit, and then Islam pounced and sort of finished the fight. Incredible victory. Just 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes of action. Cements himself as the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now. So good on him, man. I'd like to see him fight Gaethje next. Charles had his chance and lost, so I'd like to see him fight Gaethje next. The Hamzat fight definitely showed me that Kamaru Usman still got it, and that Hamzat might be a little. I mean, when you come up against the top of the division, like, you're going to get guys like this who again will survive whatever you throw at them. Like, it becomes a war of attrition with these dudes. So you're going to have to fight wars of attrition with them. And as far as I'm concerned, it was pretty much a draw. Kamaru got the better of him in the second and the third. So that's that. Like, I'd like to see him matched up against a proper middleweight next. Like, someone like maybe Dricus. I'd like to see him fight Dricus du Plessis. No title shot off of this fight. Hells no. I'd like to see him fight Dricus du Plessis. I think that would be as the youngins say, fire fight, right? Like, shit like that. Like, it's gonna be great. I don't really want to talk about the other fights. Right? The Ankalaev thing was just a fucking joke. So is the Nathaniel Wood double ball kick. Like, come on, man. Like, I mean, Abu Dhabi's the UFC is just not doing their job when it comes to like regulation there. But I don't want to go too much into it because that's in a separate video altogether, and I've rambled on for almost 20 minutes now. So I also do have to say that Sharapuddin Bullet, whatever, Shara Bullet, is very overrated. Has zero ground game. If fucking Bruno Silva can keep you down, I shudder to think what the rest of the wrestlers in the division would do. Like, fucking Marvin Vittori would kill him. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm happy to be back. Have another video out in the next couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think. If you have any suggestions, leave them in comments below. I don't know all this bell notification shit and all that. Click if you want, like, sub. Trying to get this channel to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Fingers crossed that it happens. But thank you very much for watching. See you guys next time.